cut my hair.
Hi, folks. You are watching and listening to another edition of Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media. All of our channels and networks. I'm Mike Morales here in sunny Southern California. That gentleman out there is
Jay Silverman in Phoenix, Arizona.
Jay, and I have been beside ourselves. We have been ruminating because Jay's been around probably as long as I have, and we've had our share of old school tequilas. And let me show you this bottle. It's called El Patriarca. And I'll try to pronounce it the way in Spanish. It's a little tough for me. This tequila has knocked our socks off, literally. The Blanco, outstanding. Go check out the Blanco review. The Reposado, I was surprised how bold the Reposado was. This is the Añejo, and there's very minimal information on what they're doing, what kind of barrels they're using. We surmise that they're using, used whiskey barrels, just because of the way it's reacting to some of the notes that we're getting. But I'd love to know more about their. We know it's an old school process, even though the distillery has modern equipment as well. So anyway, we're just gonna. This is the Añejo. I'm not sure how long it sits in the barrel, but this is one of those that did not have a cork issue. They are using synthetic corks. Some of these wooden knobs, be careful, folks. They have come off from both of us in the past, and it's going to happen. These particular knobs, generally, this isn't the first brand. It probably won't be the last one to use these wooden knobs. They're great, but sometimes they come off. They come off the synthetic cork. Not sure why, but anyway, I'm going to pour mine in a Glencairn glass.
I have this
Sergio
glass
Bormioli.
here. It's a custom hand cut. Sorry?
The Sergio Bormioli.
This is good. I'm going to take my time opening this bottle. I'm excited for this because everything that we've known about this brand so far, and it mentions on the label too, Mike, that they've been celebrating 100 years of growing agaves in the Altos,
Los Altos.
Tierras de Altos of Jalisco. And this is kind of like this brand so far. It's kind of everything you look for. For me, everything that I love about tequila is small family run brands and distilleries doing things in a traditional way. And that's the impression I get when I see these bottles and I read the label, and it's just a classic traditional approach to, it's not gimmicky or modern. And that's what I look for in a good tequila. Is I like traditional. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel off this cork, which is
well, while you do that,
their first batch.
That's the one thing that I didn't read was the label. We haven't read that to anybody, and it says at the very top, herencia y tradición, so the inheritance, or the heredity and tradition. And tequila El Patriarca, tequila hecho, yeah, that's right. Wait, tequila recio con carácter. Wow.
I had a little difficulty with the cork here, Mike. I'm just gonna pop it right off. It's not a big
That
deal.
works. Well,
But
it happens.
I did notice that when the bottles were shipped, it was a pretty hot day here in Arizona. So I got the guy, rumbling through the neighborhood with the delivery truck and just dropping off my bottles. So you never know what causes that when the bottles get shipped, but there is like a little separation with the cork, the synthetic cork, and the wooden cap. But it's not gonna slow me down from enjoying this.
No.
Gorgeous color, amber añejo that's slightly darker than the Reposado, which is also a nice aged, well-aged product.
It's almost as dark as the Repo. Now the label also says tequila recio con carácter, so that means it's recio is some the literal translation is harsh, but that's not necessarily what it means. It's bold. Okay, recio could also mean bold with character. And I have found that with the Blanco and the Reposado. We found that exactly. It's bold with character. It's 100 years, what it says. It's got the signature of the original founder, Don Andres Z. Barba, which actually, many of the tequilas in this distillery, the 1605 distillery, bear his name. And this one, it says established 1920. So this particular family member began growing agave, and I'm not sure when he started making tequila, but growing agave since 1920 in the
Don
high.
Andres y Barba Camarena. That he's got his name on the label, and he's the one they're celebrating with this tradition of continuing to grow agaves for over 100 years, one way or another through the generations. And back in those early days, they were affiliating themselves with growing agaves for Sauza, for Don Carlos Gonzalez from Tequila Don Julio, and so they've been around the the family traditions and the legacy. They've been around the industry for a long time.
Well, that there's a lot of families, and I would imagine that there is there a branch or an offshoot of the Camarena family, which, to my knowledge, is like what, 5, 6 generations of Camarenas, different branches that sometimes don't even talk to each other.
And if you make the tequila the way, but if you follow the traditions the Camarena family does, which is a similar story of
Carlos and
natural
Felipe, right?
the natural process of making
Right.
tequila, the way they do it, it's a pretty pure, natural product that you get with the way these families do it. I think it's the way I think that's the right way to make tequila, which is as traditional as possible. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. This is looking. I poured mine already. I couldn't.
No, that's good. I poured mine in my Glencairn. It looks like it's reacting like a whiskey, folks. It's a beautiful legs and tears all the way around. I mean, that was generally the case with the Blanco and all the way to the Repo, and now with the Añejo, not super thick, but rather clingy, and there we go. And now they're streaming like Netflix. I love it.
Well, you're not going to see a huge difference in color with the Reposado and the Añejo on the shelf, but this one definitely has a more complex aroma so far. And I'm just going to open it up a little bit, swirl around, and open it
Oh
up
yeah.
because
Oh,
it's
I
absolutely
just took a
gorgeous.
whiff. Holy cow.
And you can,
This is actually on fire. It's lit. It is, where the Reposado was a bit more subdued, even though it was bold.
yeah.
This one's all over the top. This one's all out front.
I mean, you're getting a lot of agave though. You're not getting. I get the sense that they're not trying to, hide the agave behind too much oak. You still have that nice lightness, in the viscosity, and if you kind of go in for the aromas, you're definitely getting a burst of a nice cooked agave in there. So that's I think what a true tequila aficionado is looking for, right, Mike?
Yeah, well,
It's kind of what we live by here.
that's it. That's what we look for.
Live and die by the agave.
That's it. I mean, we taste everything. We're not gonna knock it until we taste it. But I gotta tell you, my heart's in like Jason said, some of the old school stuff that we grew up tasting that maybe the newer generations are not wondering what it is that Uncle Bob used to have that he still hoards in his closet. And this harkens back. And again, the family and the herencia, which is the legend, the inheritance, that they feel an obligation to follow through on the original the family founder's dream and carry that forward using, of course, it's modern days now. So the tequila back 100 years ago is not what not what we're tasting now. But you want to, the bottom line is you want to present the characters of the agave. And the only way that happens is if the agave is being well grown, stays in the ground for a certain length of time. And, and this is the kind of quality you're getting. And this is just on the nose. Have you tasted it yet?
No, I'm getting some beautiful oak and cherry aromas at first, and I think it's gonna open up even more nicely as we go into the next few minutes here. But I think
There's some deeper whiskey notes for me too. I think
with yeah,
the
definitely whiskey reminiscent of whiskey, but the with the approach to tequila that we've seen in the Blanco and the Reposado, I know that what you're getting is like what I look for in a tequila with that classic taste flavor profiles of agave, oak, and little complexity in the añejo. And it's
Just the right amount of alcohol.
you can even get a little mint aroma going in there. The spearmint that you got from the Blanco kind of comes
Yeah,
over
yeah.
another pass.
I was surprised again with the
Orange
Reposado there.
rind, cherry. It's nice. Yeah, these would, along with the Reposado, make an incredible stirred cocktail with a Amaro or some bitters, and tequila Manhattan would be incredible.
I was going to say, I
With
was
the
just going to
right, with
ask
the
you a
right,
tequila Manhattan, the Latin Manhattan.
with the
Yeah.
right sweet vermouth. Oh man, some
Well,
Luxardo cherries.
you know what? Let's dive in, man. Let's taste it. Let's taste the juice and see what we get. Here we go.
Mm.
Oh, wow. Um, Again, only my first pass. I always use a spit bucket. Um, Now I'm getting more, but it's still peppery. I'm not getting cinnamon. I'm still getting the hot pepper from the Blanco. It's weird because all the wood notes are on the nose,
Yeah, that's true. I
but this
agree. I'm getting the aroma, some, almost like oak and leather, natural aromas
yes, yes.
with the aroma, but then with the taste, I'm getting back to the agave and mint and the bright pepper and the bright citrus and pepper from the Blanco. It does come through in the añejo.
That's weird
So
because most often we know by the time you get pepper from the Blanco to the aged spirits, it turns from pepper to cinnamon, almost like a hot cinnamon, but it's not the
right,
case.
I wonder what they're doing differently with this añejo than what you might expect, but it's definitely their approach is to retain the agave profile, and it's definitely a nice, enjoyable sip, with a fair amount of complexity too.
You're right. I'm getting more leather notes on the nose, more at the bottom. Um, Leather, and again, the lip and gum numbness, spectacular, spectacular.
Mm. Oh, that's a good finish. It would be amazing with a cigar, but the finish is kind of bright, beautiful, has some structure to it, and has just I feel like it could stand up to a lot of companions, but yeah, definitely like in the cocktails. Obviously, a tequila like this is just great on its own, but this would be a nice pairing with some, like, dessert or
That's
cigar,
that's what I was thinking. A dessert like a flan
rich food
cigar.
like a birria, stew, or birria tacos even would be incredible.
Look at him.
So
Look at
that's
him go.
spectacular. I'm loving the añejo. Even it's close between the Reposado and the Añejo. They're both really good.
Well, you know what? Here's
I'd love
here's
to talk to them about their approach to the
I
differences,
I
nuances
would
between the
too.
Reposado and the Añejo, because both are aged beautifully, but this one's just a bit drier and a bit longer in the barrel. And it's almost like they're giving you, like, this is how we do it. This is our Reposado, and the Añejo is a very close cousin as far as, like, they're not trying to, like, go too far. They want to retain the agave, so it's nice.
When
What was
I
the price point on this one, Mike? Does it go quite a bit from the 40 the
no,
$40 range of the Blanco?
let me ask you a couple things first before I go into pricing. I think just when having one pass, and I may go for one more. The finish is there. The finish is consistent all the way from the Blanco to the Añejo. But I think the Reposado was a bit bolder on all fronts And the añejo strikes me as a bit more silkier.
Hmm.
I think it's silkier because it didn't finish as dry for me as a reposado. The reposado is dry. It's got all of its going for it, but the añejo was just slightly more subdued, more grown up. You know what I mean?
I
And
do. I know. I agree with all that. I am getting like a more robust aroma that's beautifully sweet. It's almost
yes,
like a blooming cactus flower. It's just
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, let's
bursting,
say
and
it.
the aroma
Oh,
is just
blooming
almost like
cactus
it's
flowers.
designed as it's just planned and executed perfectly of what they were looking for.
I,
You
I,
get the agave, but now it's really kind of bursting into that depth um,
I
of
love
with the
that.
sweetness,
I
with the
love that.
sweetness. Yeah,
Jason doesn't get all poetic and mushy, but when he's poetic and mushy, this is one hell of a tequila, man. The cactus. For those of you who've never lived in the desert, if you lived in a low desert like where Jason is, I lived in high desert, New Mexico, for 18 years. So we know what cactus flowers do. They bloom and then they die very quickly because it's a fleeting moment. And when they bloom, they're just something beautiful and gorgeous and in bright colors because they got to attract the pollinators really quickly before the weather gets too hot and before they die off, right? Um, and that's just beautiful. You're right. You're absolutely right. This would be a great in the desert. This would do
yeah.
great in Vegas. It would do great in Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California. Here, you know what? You asked me about pricing. Let me touch on that very quickly, just to get you up to
And
speed.
while you're looking for that, I'm just going to say, without interrupting, I apologize, but the traditions that this brand has gone through, I know I know for sure now after tasting all three ages that they um, really searching for that traditional flavor profile, traditional process, and so I'm getting memories, taste memories, vintage tequilas that I tasted 15, 20 years ago. It's reminiscent of that. So I'm getting like old Corazon or Espolon from like
Oh, you're
the
killing me,
early
bro.
2000s, like a
Yeah.
2004, a 2005 Corazon Añejo, or like uh
Well, El Tesoro when it was still in the
that
olive oil bottle, you know?
perfect amount of aging, that really tried and true, vintage tequila flavor profile that you don't want to mess up with any kind of modern techniques or any kind of modern equipment. So this is where, the rubber hits the road for me. It's a classic añejo flavor profile and it's opening up. It's fantastic. So I really like this more and more
As
as I
as we
get
delve
more and
into it.
more into the aroma and the taste. I'm gonna taste it again, but it's really enjoyable. So I'm well done. El Patriarca, the tradition is definitely coming through for me.
Well, you asked me about pricing. It ranges from 69.99 to 76.99, and honestly, all day long. It's worth it's worth that, probably more. Because there are tequilas out there. It doesn't have a pretty bottle. That's okay. If you put it in a pretty bottle, you'd be paying over $100 for it. But that's not what these people are all about. I've never met a camarena that didn't want to make a tequila that everybody could enjoy.
You can't hide,
I've
you can't
interviewed a
hide behind
few. I've
this.
talked to them. Maybe I haven't had them on open bar, but every single camarena, anybody with a last name camarena says to me, we want to make a tequila that everybody can enjoy, that's affordable, that with a quality that our family's known for, whatever branch of the camarena family you're talking about.
I'm
And
gonna come back to this. I'm gonna let this sit for a while. I'll come back to it in a few minutes, but you can't hide behind a tequila like this. You can't mask. There's nothing to hide or mask here. It's just natural. It's know-how. It's knowledge. It's tradition.
yes,
It's know-how. These guys know how to make tequila. They have, carried this tradition from family and from friends in Jalisco and Los Altos, and everything that they're advertising. It's true, and it's a
yeah.
true. very enjoyable, and I wish them well with this brand. And I
I
hope it
do
gets
too.
out there. And
I would love
do
to have
you,
them on open bar, man, because I want
would
to
you,
find out more about their background, where they came from. They just kind of popped up on our radar.
well,
Maybe
I
this
you
year.
know, probably from growing agaves in over generations. But have you any idea of like where you can find this tequila so far? I'm gonna speculate California, Arizona,
Well, it,
Texas.
I, I went online and here I'm getting stuff like from fruitbat.com and Preach Barrel. I've never heard any of these online retailers. So you can get it online apparently. But other than that, I I'm surprised that it's not Remedy Liquor. I've heard of Remedy Liquor. So yeah, Remedy is out here in Southern California, isn't it? Remedy
Of
Liquor?
course, yeah.
Yeah. I
Maybe
mean,
Nevada too.
yeah, and so
If you've seen this on the shelves, leave a note in the comments for us to get the word out. This is a
yeah,
tequila
please let us
you want people
know.
to find. So if you've
Let
seen it out there, wherever you buy tequila, I would say go for it. That's a great. If you see the opportunity and to grab one of these El Patriarcas, I would say don't
oh,
hesitate. Get
don't
out
hesitate.
there and add it to your collection.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, if you're watching us on YouTube, or maybe you're getting a portion of this on Instagram, or whatever, wherever whatever social platform you're looking at, except for TikTok, because we don't do TikTok. Okay.
We don't mess with that.
Yeah, we don't mess with that because we never know when they're going to kick us off anyway. Um, but let us know what you're doing with it, what you're paying for it, what you're putting it in. This is good enough to gift. I'm telling you, this is an affordable gift of pedigree. These people know how to make their tequila. It's outstanding. In fact, I haven't done it officially, but I'm gonna. Brand of Promise nominee. Here we go in the Añejo category.
Excellent.
Solid tequila. Go get it. We've been very fortunate that they selected us to be one of the first to taste it. You haven't seen it around, go get it. If you see it in the wild, tell us where you found it. Leave us a comment. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave us a note. Hit the notification bell. Give us a like. Share it. Put it out in the YouTube universe so everybody else can get this tequila. Because I tell you what, enough people start finding out what happens. I remember when we first tasted Carrera tequila, which is from another branch of the Camarena family. It took off. It took off, and pricing went up, but that again, solid tequila. I
Or
think
like
people.
if I was, it kind of reminds me of my days as a bar manager. If I was a bar manager and had the ability to add cool bottles to our back bar collection, if you live in California or Texas, Arizona, and you have access to this in the catalog, get it, bring it into your bar. Not everybody's going to have it, and it's going to be a win. There's people out there looking for the tequilas they haven't tried before. This is it. This is what they're looking for. They're looking
That's
for
it.
something classic and beautiful. This is going to be a big hit.
There you go. I got nothing else to say. That's our take on El Patriarca Tequila. I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. That gentleman out there is.
Jay Silverman in Arizona.
You've been watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media, all of our channels and networks. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, give us a like, follow us on Instagram, follow Jay at Jay's Agave on Instagram as well. You can follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us everywhere. But whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely, friends.